So I just wanted to go through my guide in a video style because it might be easier for some people. I think the must-haves are pretty self-explanatory, but notice that I added these two down here. They were necessary in the first place. I forgot to add them, but I would assume most people already know this, but you need the DLL loader and uncapper in order to use the slower skill leveling settings. Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, my first recommendation is Enai's whole catalog. Mostly I just want to show you how to make these edits with Creation Kit, but I might as well go in. Hold on just a minute. Okay, I linked it down here. I probably should have linked it up above. I might change that. But if you go to Enai's catalog, this might not matter if you're not playing a Destruction Mage or a character that uses Destruction at all, but still, it's nice to have if you do eventually. Once again, if you don't use enchants, but I imagine most people, even non-magical, use them. I plan on making a let's play of a Nord that doesn't use any enchants or any magic at all, except for shouts. Sacrosanct. Once again, you might not become a vampire, but if you do eventually, this is the best way to do it. And again, don't limit yourself to normal playthroughs. I was kind of like that at first, but if you don't normally play a destruction character, you think it's silly, try it out. You might change your mind. I certainly did on my mage. Enchants, again, I didn't do this at first, and vampires I still have yet to do, but I'm looking forward to doing so. This is one mod you don't need. This is basically obsolete now compared to Wildcat. And again, all it really has is no injuries and something in place of them, but we're not using injuries anyway. Standing stones, I mean, you know what the standing stones are. This just changes their effect. Some of them might be a little overpowered. The ones in the beginning aren't. My advice is just choose the one that you find the most fun. Could be the most effective as well if you're that kind of player. This is necessary for any load order. This is the modern brawl bug fix, and it stops a real fight from breaking out of a brawl, which can be a problem. Thunderchild, I mean, shouting was pretty, it felt like it was missing something in the base game, and Thunderchild is just a really cool way of adding new shouts and a system of acquiring these new shouts, and it makes shouting a lot more effective overall. Wildcat is one of our core combat mods. Really the main purpose is the attacks of opportunity. You deal more damage and you can interrupt bow attacks. You deal more damage in certain circumstances. Let's say you're behind an opponent, the opponent's power attacking, so on. I mean, once again, I said read the descriptions because I can't possibly give a full description, but I'll show you how to configure it in-game in a little. Imperious, this is a really good mod. I didn't expect much of it when I first installed it, but I mean, it didn't matter what race you played before. I mean, there were certain racial powers that were just overpowered. This just makes every race pretty cool, in my opinion. Ordinator, well, enough said. It is simply the best perk mod out, and I think many people would agree on that. I don't think there's going to be much argument to that statement. There's so many interesting builds you can come up with, and we're going to be tweaking this a little bit. So the last bit, Apocalypse. Okay, Magic is Skyrim. This just adds. This is probably the most balanced, and I don't want to say I haven't played every spell package, but it does have a lot of interesting spells. But they just fit into the game. They could have been there. They could have been there in vanilla, and you wouldn't even know. It's just the most professionally made spell package, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Let me show you how to configure Ordinator for first in Creation Kit. So go to the best. You need this for the SC version of Creation Kit, Bethesda.net launcher. Let's see if I remember my password, because normally it just logs me in. Great. Pretty sure it's just a capital thing. Yep. Okay. So Creation Kit, that one's for Fallout, I believe. This is the Skyrim one. You just install it, and when you go through with it, it'll ask you if you want to extract scripts.rar, just hit yes. So open this up, Creation Kit. So now we're going to find Ordinator, and if you just click here or anywhere and then type ord, should bring you right to it. You select it, but more importantly, set as active file. This is the file being modified. Now hit OK. Whenever this comes up, always hit yes to all. Pretty much any mod you're going to load is going to have messages like these, and it seems like an error message, but just don't worry about it. Yes to all. I have to apologize for my lack of professionalism, if that's a word, but I don't normally make videos and I'm just getting used to it. I'm going to start doing Let's Plays. I've actually made my first 3 videos on a character named Preller, if you want to check that out. Naturally, I'm probably going to suck at first, like I'm probably sucking here, but I believe I can become great at it, so. And there's not a lot of good Let's Plays out, especially with good gameplay and modding like this. Hopefully your Creation Kit loads a little faster than this as well. Okay, so we have Ordinator loaded. This is the object window here. And this is where all the categories are. For perks, we're going to actors. Actors. No. Incorrect. Am I losing my mind here? See, even I get confused. Yes, actor, right here. Just skipped over it. So, Ordinator does something interesting, and it's actually probably necessary for gameplay purposes, especially if you're using aces or anything like that. But it leaves the base perks in the game, and it just adds perks, and then it makes those the character perk tree perks. But that's pretty essential, and it's pretty professional decision by E9. Anyway, that's not really important right now. So we're looking for a perk called Vancian Mage, and it's in the alteration tree. So I'm just going to search Vancian, and there it is. But now we know that for Ordinator perks, the format for listing them is ord underscore, and then the abbreviation of the tree, and then the amount in the tree it takes to get the perk. So we're going into Vancian, and we go down to conditions right here. You see this is the name of the conditions. Get base actor value. This is just a prior perk that it requires. In this case, it only requires the base perk. So we double click here, and as you see in the guide I list 70, but I've already made, as I said, I'm pretty obsessive about this. I've already made it 80. Vancian Mage is a very powerful perk with this setup, so I honestly recommend you do put it 80 as well. But normally it would say 30, so you just go in here and you type the number, and don't X out because that won't save your changes. Hit OK, and same goes for here. Hit OK, and now you're going to do the same for the following perks that come after Vancian. So remembering the name, it's Quadratic Wizard, I believe. And see, it wouldn't make sense for Vancian to cost 80 and for a Quadratic, which comes after it, to cost 50. Even though you'd still need Vancian beforehand. As you can see, it requires this perk. So I made the value 85. Same thing, okay. Then the last perk in this line is Dungeon Master, and it requires 70. Once again, both perks require more than that, so I made it 90. Probably appropriate as well. Once again, these are very powerful perks. Again, you change it to 90. Okay. So I want to show you something else, because I also made a small change to Spell Scribe, which I also found pretty powerful and pretty easy to acquire, and I might not even have it high enough. It normally requires 40 enchanting. See this Ord? Enchant 40. Spell Scribe. There's obviously going to be other perks that require the same amount, so this isn't the only perk that is going to be Ord Enk 40. Just keep that in mind. So it's better to know the name of the perk and search that way. So once again, this would normally be 40. I made it 50. You okay? Now, is there anything else? For now, no, but I could probably make many adjustments like these. So now you're gonna file, save, yes to all, and exit out. Now let me go back to my guide, because I'm not even sure what order I put everything in, and I can't remember everything on the top of my head. I'm sorry, I'm not that smart. Go back to Reddit. And of course we should have kept Creation Kit open. Wildcat, we'll do that in game, but for now we'll just go back to Creation Kit. No big deal. If it takes too long, I'll just cut the load out of the video, make it quick for you guys. So once again, you can click anywhere, highlight anything. Now type Apoc, Magic of Skyrim. Okay, you can actually just hit set as active and it'll check it anyway. So I just have my quirks where I do things a certain way over and over, even if they're inefficient. So this is the long stride fix that we did manually. And admittedly, I'm pretty lazy, but it's also that it doesn't really matter. As in, it's a pretty mana-consuming spell, and it's not going to be that impactful. As in, you could set the speed to something crazy, and it's not going to be a very overpowered spell. Obviously, you might find some niche for it where it's actually pretty damn useful, and I can think of a few, which are when you're casting, on the other hand, you're going to be moving slow anyway. So if you cast Long Stride in the hand other than that spell, you're going to be able to negate that and move quickly while casting. But even still, it's probably not that powerful of a spell. It's more for getting around. It can definitely help you if you run out of stamina in combat and you need to sprint away or something like that. But once again, I don't think putting the speed beyond what it should be is going to have a major effect, especially if you don't do any values that are super crazy. Long Stride. Alright, so there's going to be a couple that pop up, but if you look at the form type, this is a book where you learn it from. This is the magic effect. Magic effect. What we're really looking for is this spell. Right here, spell. You see that symbol right there? So you go in here, and this is Long Stride, basically in combat and out of combat. And the value is normally 20, which just isn't enough with the movement tweaks made by Athletic and Figure itself if you don't have Athletic. So I made it 50. So once again, you would just type in the value, okay, and you know that out of combat has to be, it doesn't have to be, but it's intended to be double the in-combat amount. So I made that 100. Hit OK. Don't quit out of this either. Hit OK. Then you go to File, Save, Yes to all. Now I don't believe we'll be using the creation kit again, so I'm going to exit out of it. Creation kit is sort of unstable like that. Not that that had any effect on the outcome of the change, but so Wildcat, before we go in game and set these, we should probably make the SSEedit for the difficulty level of Adept. So for me, I put my SSEedit in my Skyrim folder. If you have Nexus Mod Manager, this is easily accessed by clicking here, open game folder, and I left it outside the data folder, right here. I like to run things as administrator. So you right click, select none, and we're looking for Wildcat. Could probably just scroll down, do it the lazy way, easy way. So you check that, hit OK. If I did that too quickly, sorry. So now, expand Wildcat, try not to expand the other ones. It has to load, everything that Wildcat requires, aka Skyrim, the updates, and the DLC. So the difficulty level is found under game setting. So we expand this. There's a lot of settings, most of which I actually can't say on the top of my head what they do. See, now we're here. fdiff molt. So this should just give it away. It's a difficulty multiplier. And by PC, you know, by the player, to PC, to the player. N it stands for normal, which is actually adept difficulty. And there's hard, very hard, which are expert and master, whatever, legendary. But we play on adept difficulty for several reasons. So normally these would both have value 1.5 in them. So what you would do is you don't just double click, you right click and you hit edit, and it's going to give you this warning, and that's fine. Normally it would have been 1.5 whatever, change it to 1.0. Okay, go in here. Well, I just made that mistake. 1.5, the zeros after don't matter, I'll probably add them anyway. 1.5. I am losing my mind here. See, I'm an absent-minded individual and I can do all this, so that means that you guys should have no problem. What am I doing? See, once again. Just to clarify, 1.0, 1.0. Now, there's no, file save on SSEedit, which might be a little confusing and scary, but all you have to do is hit escape. It's going to ask you which plugins you want to save. If you have more loaded, you can check them or uncheck them, and back up plugins. I'm not going to back this up. I didn't really change anything that I didn't already have. So I'm going to save it. It's saved. Okay, that's done. Back to the guide. Well, I'll do this first, and then I'll show everyone how I made my figure tweet. Okay, we're launching Skyrim now. I recently did a full reinstall, cutting down on all my mods, especially graphical ones. Some will be sorely missed, like Great Forest of Whiterun Hold and Simply Bigger Trees. In fact, I might actually add those two back. Risk that. But basically I just want the most stable Skyrim with all these script mods being loaded. So I'm going to go from Prelude. Character I already have. Because you run through the configuration the same way on a new game. Doesn't really matter.
It's just us against the dragon. Is that it?
I can't afford to send anyone else. And we don't know where the dragon is.
It just gets... Well, it's
Your
probably going to be
main job
louder
will be to
inside.
keep an eye out and get the people to safety if the town is attacked.
But anyway, so I can open up my window, powers, menu, vigor, combat and injuries, all. Okay, so stamina actions, everything's on by default. We're keeping this, we're keeping this, we are not keeping this. Off. Poise, let me just show you. We want to keep it. I keep the default value nowadays. You don't have to. You might want to put it at 0.5. You might want to put the... In fact, I somewhat recommend this, because otherwise enemies with followers, you can kind of stun lock single strong enemies sometimes. So put it to 3. Conditional damage, it has some good stuff, but we're going to leave it off in favor of Wildcat, so there's no confusion. Everything else is left on. Powers. I like Vigor's menu a lot more than Wildcat's, I have to say. You don't have to go through everything. So we're keeping dynamic combat. So, yes would disable it. 0 cost, because we're using Vigor for this. 0 cost. 0 cost. And we are disabling this. Vigor has a similar feature. Not disabling this. We're disabling this not because we have the same feature, but because we already have a pretty strong slow at 0 stamina. No. We're going to keep it off. We're going to use the poise full body stagger, but we're not going to use wildcats. We are going to disable injuries. No. No. And I think no for the rest. Okay, so that's configured. For now, that's everything. But let me show you... Okay. So there's the Genesis options. Now I actually recommend that when you start a game, up until at least level 5, you keep this to no. There's just some fights it can lead to that, even if you can win them, they're going to take an insane amount of time and a lot of running around, and your character's really not equipped. You know, I'm not trying to make this insanely challenging right off the bat. So, keep that to no. Just keep everything in Genesis to default at first. When you feel you've gotten to a point where you can take on the challenge, put this to yes. Now go back. NPC relevel, we're going to keep this off, and if you choose to use one, use NPCs releveled instead. It's more in-depth with its releveling alterations. It takes into account classes of the characters better and whatnot. But anyway, treasure module you want off. I actually forgot to turn this off on this character. That's good. I'll probably save after this then. But you don't want this because it can offset the economy and the overall balance of the game. Exit. I'm going to save right here. Okay. Books. OBIS I'm keeping off for right now, but there's still OBIS bandits in place of regular bandits. But if you were to enable it, it's got a pretty weird menu. Disable settings. Default. Done. You can always change them, increase the spawns and whatnot. I'm gonna go back and now it's disabled. See, it's a little confusing. For Sands of Time, there's the Ring of Danger, and I hope I didn't sell it. Okay, here we go.
Again.
And this spawns the Sandman. You talk to the Sandman, you activate the mod. I already saved it before, so it won't really matter. You activate the mod. And it takes a little bit to actually start up. There's a lot of shit going on. Go to difficulty settings. Choose Ale Drinker. It sounds like it's going to be easy. It's not at all. Spartan's pretty absurd, especially at this level. You can always turn it up, remember, and turn up spawns and whatnot. But then you...
Need something?
Then you ask for Books of Revelations.
Alright.
And in these books, you have even more configuration. I recommend turning these guys off. Well, first toggles. Disable both of them. This one just gives you pretty much God mode unless you get hit with a whole bunch of shit at once. This one will occasionally spawn a guy that kills all your enemies for you. He's pretty powerful, and it just doesn't make sense to me. There's some lore issues with this, and it's just pretty chaotic. They attack every city, so we're going to turn it to set to no. Mephala Assassins, honestly, early game, I would recommend disabling them, because despite the fact that they'll probably soon be very balanced with the creator of the mod author of Encounter Overhauls combined, right now they do have some overpowered gear, and they're pretty annoying in the beginning of the game. So, it's a shame they don't have an option to disable all at once. Whiterun said to no. No. Allow spawns, false. Okay, so everything's set to no. Yeah. Previous. Chameleon assassins are pretty fine at the moment. The first time I've seen them was in the barrow next to, I forget the name of the town now. Yeah, okay, Iverstead is the name of the town. The barrow that's in Iverstead, that's the first time I see them at the end of that. So they're pretty well placed at the moment. Okay, so now we go to the main book, SOT Revelations. And for walking spawns, especially if you're turning this on early game, you definitely want to do half as normal so you don't have a mob of, 10 to 20 people attacking you at once. You can turn the cooldown up or down. The dice rolls are the chance they'll spawn. I believe the lower the value, the less encounters you will come into. For mist toggles, at least at first, I recommend disable increased spawns on the surface and disable increased spawns in dungeons. For now, Genesis is enough. More toggles. Turn off rats. Holy shit. We don't need any bubonic plague. There's still going to be skeevers in the game, but these things that spread crazy diseases are gone. So keep waiting the same. This is important. Lore toggle. Click here to disable it. Treasure chests. Turn it off. Hunters, that's fine. Turn off armors. We don't need any SOT gear in this. Burning Inferno, disable. Anything else? No, I don't believe so. Exit. So there's also fast travel encounters and sleeping encounters. So far they've been pretty nice. You sleep in and there's one assassin waiting for you. Or you fast travel and they're waiting in the town. It's kind of a Baldur's Gate style thing. So is there anything else we need to configure in game? I don't believe so, but always good to make sure. I recommend you use violins. And there's another mod, but let me show you this first. For violins, what I do is customize. You want to make yourself immune so you're not at a quarter health getting, kill moved. And it's kind of buggy anyway. Last enemy restriction is on. I use matched. It's not necessarily necessary. And events and kill moves I use are pretty cool. And I use them on last enemies, and that's it. But another mod I recommend, let me show you. Since gold is so important, you're pretty much always going to be scrounging for it with the trainer system. I use Notice Board. It gives you a lot of cool quests. I usually do the bandit bounties. Notice Board and the OBIS add-on I use. And let me see if I have any. Yeah, here we go. OBIS bounty. See? This is a cool way to make gold. Other than main quests and the side quests that are already in the game. Some of the side quests overlap. Like if you talk to Preventus, he'll give you a bounty that might be the same as the one that's on the Notice Board. But other than that, maybe I can show you some stuff. Well, I can show you the ordinated changes for starters. So, go to alteration. No, I have a perk point, didn't notice that. Advancing Mage was right here. See, it requires 80. That worked. 85. 90. Okay. And the other one was Spell Scribe. Spell Scribe requires 50. Okay. For now, I think that's it.